Azariah released the freezing spell with a breath. Jeremiah's wife collapsed beside him, shaking his body, sobbing into his chest. "What did you do?" she screamed, her voice raw. Azariah didn't answer. Her silence was confession enough. The woman rose slowly, tears carving lines down her cheeks, her eyes burning through the haze of grief. "You ruined everything," she whispered, low and trembling, "and I swear to you, this isn't over." She dragged Jeremiah's limp body out into the rain. Azariah stood alone in the dim shop. The candles flickered weakly, their flames almost gone. She had been easing back the magic, whispering fewer incantations, burning fewer candles, hoping he'd settle, hoping to loosen the bind. But he noticed. He always noticed.
"You're taking it away from me."
He hissed one night, his hands trembling as he gripped her arms.
"You're colder now. You don't touch me. We don't make love anymore. You're stealing my air, Azariah. If you leave me, I'll make sure you never leave at all. If I can't have you, then no one will. We'll both burn."
Fear crept into her veins. She had summoned love, but what stood before her was obsession. The Conjuring. She had comfort, success, and a life that looked whole from the outside, but none of it filled the hollow where love should live. And some nights, when the ache pressed too heavy on her chest, she wondered if the same spell she used to mend others might finally mend her too. Langston walked past Azariah's corner every day. Same time, same pace. Eyes forward, shoulders heavy. Carrying silence the same way men carry pride. He never looked inside, but once, just once, he lingered, long enough for his gaze to catch hers through the glass. And in that fleeting glance, Azariah saw it. Sadness. Not the loud kind, the quiet kind that buries itself deep, hides behind routines and morning coffee cups. Something inside her stirred. She wanted to touch that sadness, cradle it, rewrite it. She wanted to heal him. Maybe because in his brokenness, she saw her own. Her love could be the cure. And maybe, just maybe, if she mended him, she might stitch herself back together too. So that night, in the purple hush of her bedroom, she lit the candles low. Shadows swayed against the walls, and the air smelled of sage and rosewater. She sat cross-legged on the floor. Langston's hair wound around her fingers like fate's thread. Her voice fell into rhythm, soft, lyrical, like a song only the dark could hear. Open his eyes, let him see me. Open his chest, let his soul need me. By smoke, by flame, by blood, by name, let him fall, let him claim this hunger, this fire, this home in my skin. Let him love, let him break, let me begin. The flames bent toward her. The floor trembled as though it too was listening. And when she whispered the final word, something inside her shifted. It was as if a missing puzzle piece had clicked into place. Her veins hummed, her chest swelled. She wasn't alone anymore. And across town, Langston froze mid-step. His lungs pulled a deeper breath than they had in months. His skin prickled. His heart stuttered, then surged. He pressed a hand to his chest, eyes wide, whispering into the empty night.
"What is this?"
For the first time in forever, he felt alive. And Azariah, smiling through the haze, whispered to the dark, "He doesn't know it yet, but he's mine." The bloom. The bell above the door chimed, soft as a sigh. Azariah's corner was quiet that evening, save for the crackle of candles and the faint hum of Erykah Badu flowing low from a record player in the corner. The shop smelled like sandalwood, roses, and rain that hadn't fallen yet. Langston stepped inside. He shoved his hands into his jacket pockets like he belonged there. Like he wasn't a man who'd walked past this storefront 100 times and only now found the courage to enter. But the truth was simpler. Something pulled him in. Something nameless. Behind the counter, Azariah lifted her gaze. Her gold hoops caught the candlelight. Her lips curved in a slow smile, the kind of smile that could stop clocks if it wanted. "Evening," she said, her voice velvet, her eyes sharp. "Looking for something or just looking?" Langston's throat went dry.
I thought maybe I'd get incense? Something for the house?
But he didn't move toward the shelves, didn't even glance at them. His eyes stayed locked on her as if she were the only thing in the room worth noticing. Azariah tilted her head, amused. "Incense, huh? What you need it for? Peace? Protection? Passion?"
No.
He admitted, his voice low, a little unsteady.
All I know is I was outside and something told me to come in.
His words stumbled into silence, but his eyes never left her. The shop felt smaller now, like the walls had leaned closer to listen.
You feel familiar.
Langston whispered.
Like I've been here before. Like I know you.
Azariah's heart tightened, though her face stayed calm. She leaned against the counter, her bracelet sliding down her wrist. "That's not the shop you feel," she said softly. "That's me. My heart called you in." The word struck him like thunder. His breath caught, his shoulders sagged, and for the first time in years, he felt something break open inside him.
You feel like home,
he said. His voice cracked, and his eyes glistened.
And I don't even know why.
Azariah's smile softened into something dangerous and tender all at once. She stepped from behind the counter, the scent of patchouli and roses trailing after her. She brushed her fingers against his arm and he shivered, as if that one touch reminded him he was alive. He didn't remember how it happened after that. One moment they were standing in the shop, the record still spinning, candles burning low. The next, he was in her bed upstairs, her skin warm against him, her breath tangled with his name. For hours, the night wrapped them in sweat, in whispers, and the sound of two people trying to outbreathe each other's hunger. When it was over, Langston lay on his back, chest heaving, eyes wide. He turned to her, a voice thick with awe.
I swear, this is the first time I ever felt alive.
Azariah lay still beside him, staring at the ceiling, the spell humming beneath her ribs. She wanted to believe it was just her touch, just her love. But the truth was darker, and it pulsed between them like smoke. The sweet spot. Days blurred into nights. Nights folded into mornings, and Langston was always there. At first it startled her, the way he showed up with bags of fresh groceries or the way he leaned over the counter in her shop like he belonged there. But she let him in. She let the comfort wash over her, sweet and steady, until it felt like the spell wasn't even real anymore. In her kitchen, he cooked with care. Garlic and thyme hissed in her cast iron skillet, filling her little purple-walled world with warmth. Azariah sat cross-legged on the counter, sipping wine, watching him move like he'd done this 100 times for her, like they'd always been.
Women like you
He said, looking up as he chopped onions.
should have never had to wait this long for love.
She laughed softly, twirling her glass. "And what makes you think I was waiting?" His eyes lifted to hers, dark, unblinking, full of something that shook her deeper than she wanted to admit.
Because I was waiting too.
Later in the shop, he stayed late while she burned incense and polished the crystals. He followed her from shelf to shelf, brushing her hand when she reached for something, standing too close, humming to the old record spinning in the background. The air around them was thick, velvet soft, charged.
Sometimes.
he murmured, almost to himself.
I wish I met you before all the heartbreak, before all the mistakes. I think I would have had more love left to give.
Her chest tightened. For a moment, guilt pricked at her ribs. She had his love, but it wasn't his to give freely. Still, she smiled, pressing a hand to his cheek. You've got enough, she whispered. More than enough. And in that moment, she wanted to believe it was true. Azariah wasn't sure if this was his heart or the magic, the obsession. Nights began to stretch long and uneasy. Azariah would wake in the dark hours and find Langston sitting up, his eyes fixed on her as though blinking might make her vanish. His chest rose and fell too quickly, as if he were running some invisible race. Baby, why aren't you asleep? She whispered, brushing her hand across his arm.
I can't sleep when you close your eyes.
He said, voice thin and trembling.
I feel like if I look away, you'll disappear.
Azariah forced a small smile, but unease coiled in her stomach. He had stopped going to work. His phone buzzed, unanswered. Meals rotted in the fridge, but he only wanted her. Always her,
You give me life.
he told her, clutching her wrist one afternoon inside the shop.
When you're near, I feel whole. When you walk away, I'm nothing. Do you hear me? Nothing.
She tried to laugh it off, tried to pull her hands away, but his grip tightened. Langston, you're scaring me. I just need a little space, a little time to... His voice cracked into anger.
No. Don't pull away from me. I can feel it when you do. The warmth, the love, it's fading. You're taking it away from me, aren't you?
Azariah's breath caught. She had been quietly easing off the rituals, letting candles burn out, refusing to speak the words, and somehow he knew.
You don't touch me like before.
He whispered.
You don't look at me the same. You're cold now. But I won't let you leave me. Do you hear me? I won't let you go.
Langston,
If you walk away,
he whispered, his voice heavy with something darker than desperation.
I'll end it. I'll end us both. Because I only need to be here with you. If I can't have you, then we'll go together.
The candles in the shop flickered, the flames bending low, like they understood the threat between them. Azariah felt the chill of her own magic turning back on her, a curse she hadn't meant to cast. Azariah felt the spell unraveling in ways she hadn't foreseen. Langston no longer slept. He spent his nights watching her, eyes wide, chest rising and falling like he was afraid to blink and lose her. He refused to go to work, refused to step outside.
I don't feel right when I'm not with you.
He whispered, his voice cracked, desperate.
When you're near, I'm alive. When you're not, I feel hollow. Don't pull away from me. Don't you dare.
Her heart clenched. She had been easing back the magic, whispering fewer incantations, burning fewer candles, hoping he'd settle, hoping to loosen the bind. But he noticed. He always noticed.
You're taking it away from me.
He hissed one night, his hands trembling as he gripped her arms.
You're colder now. You don't touch me. We don't make love anymore. You're stealing my air, Azariah. If you leave me, I'll make sure you never leave at all. If I can't have you, then no one will. We'll both burn.
Fear crept into her veins. She had summoned love, but what stood before her was obsession. She found him hours later on the roof of a downtown high-rise, the city lights bleeding like bruises across the horizon. His silhouette stood against the night, arms spread, wind tugging at his shirt as if the sky wanted to take him too. Langston! She screamed, a voice tearing from her throat. Get down from there! He turned slowly. His face was wet with tears, but his eyes blazed with devotion twisted into madness.
You gave me something I can't unfeel.
He shouted over the wind.
If you leave, I'd rather die with you than live without you.
Azariah's chest broke open. Baby, please. That wasn't love I gave you. You don't want me. You just think you do. But the night cracked open before her words could reach him. Time froze. The wind fell silent, and in that silence, a voice flooded her soul like thunder wrapped in velvet.
The test of your love is here. Release him and let him live, though he forgets you. Or keep him and let him die, yours
Her
forever.
knees buckled. The world waited. Was this love? Or only a shadow of it? Azariah stepped closer, tears burning hot. She cupped his face, kissed his damp forehead, and let the words fall like broken chains from her lips. I release the chains, cut the ties. Your love for me is no more. I release you, Langston. The city howled. The tether snapped. The spell dissolved. Langston collapsed in her arms, heavy, unconscious, alive. She cradled him against her chest, rocking, sobbing into his hair. He would wake with no memory of her, no trace of their nights, no echo of the love she carved into his veins. But he would live, and for the first time, Azariah understood. Real love doesn't need chains or magic. It needs space to grow and the courage to let go when it starts to turn toxic or die. Azariah sat before the mirror, hands trembling. She knew she shouldn't have used the spell on Langston. She'd done it for others and it always seemed harmless, but this time it had been different. Too much. Too far. She swore it would be the last. No more spells. No more tampering with hearts. But fate doesn't honor vows. The bell above her shop door had chimed just before closing. A man had stepped in, tall, voice warm, smile easy. But his eyes carried a storm. She noticed the ring on his hand, the shadows beneath his gaze, the heaviness in the way he moved. He was bound, yet something in him reached for her, like roots searching for water. When he left, the faint trace of his cologne lingered. Azariah sat in the silence, her pulse uneven. She let out a shaky laugh. "Not again," she whispered, then softer, almost to herself. Maybe it could be different. The thought curled around her like smoke. The encounter. The night was thick with rain, the kind that made the streets shine like polished obsidian. Azariah was closing up shop, snuffing out the last of her candles, when the bell over the door chimed. He stepped in. Jeremiah, tall, smooth brown skin kissed by the streetlight, a quiet kind of handsome that didn't have to announce itself. It just existed. His voice was warm, almost velvet, but his eyes, they held storms. Not the chaotic kind, but the kind that sit heavy on the horizon, waiting.
Sorry, you still open?
He asked, glancing around the room. His wedding ring caught the low light like a warning sign. Technically, no, she said, leaning against the counter. But I'll make an exception if you're quick. He smiled, a slow, easy curve that made her heart skip.
I won't keep you long. I was just drawn in, I guess. Something about this place.
Azariah felt it too, that pull. The same tug that had started it all with Langston. She told herself to keep it surface level, business only. But Jeremiah wandered the shop like a man tracing memories. He picked up trinkets and charms with curious fingers, pausing at a purple glass heart that seemed to hum under his touch.
You ever get that feeling?
He murmured.
That you walk into a place you've never been, but it feels like you've been here before.
Her breath caught. He feels it too. Sometimes, she answered softly. That's not the place talking, though. That's your heart, recognizing something it's been searching for. Their eyes met. A pause, thick as smoke. She saw the tired weight in him. The ring, the storm. She should have walked him out right then. Instead, she said, "Come back tomorrow. I'll show you something special." He nodded, smiling like a man who'd just stumbled into fate. And when he left, The scent of his cologne lingered, dark, woodsy, and intoxicating. Azariah locked the door, but the night didn't feel closed. Back in her room, surrounded by candles and whispers, she traced the memory of his eyes. She told herself she wouldn't do it again. No more spells, no more mistakes. But loneliness is a cunning thing, and temptation often sounds like a heartbeat. Returning. The next evening, the bell over the shop door sang again. Same time, same rain-slicked streets, and there he was, Jeremiah. He stood in the doorway for a moment, taking her in like he'd been waiting all day to see her. His tie was loosened, shirt sleeves rolled up, the storm in his eyes a little closer now.
I told myself I was just coming to look,
He said, stepping inside.
but I think I just needed to be here.
Azariah tried to steady herself. Careful. My shop has a way of making people stay longer than they intend,
I'm not in a rush.
he replied, voice low. He wandered between the shelves again, touching charms and candles like he was tracing constellations. She watched him, drawn in despite herself. The way he moved, soft, deliberate, felt like music that only she could hear.
You've got a beautiful energy in here.
He said finally,
Peaceful. I don't feel that a lot where I'm from.
"Where's that?"
Home.
He answered with a bitter laugh that didn't match his warm voice. His eyes dropped to his ring.
Sometimes a house ain't a home, you know?
Azariah felt the air shift. It was too easy to lean into his pain, to let it brush against hers. She stepped closer, close enough to smell the rain still clinging to him. Sometimes, she said softly, you walk into a place that doesn't just feel like peace. It feels like it was waiting for you. He looked at her then, really looked, like he just remembered something ancient. And in that gaze, the pull tightened. They talked until candles burned low. About dreams, about love, about the things most people never say out loud. Every laugh from him felt like a spark, every glance like a confession. When he finally said,
I should go.
it sounded like a lie neither of them wanted to face. She walked him to the door, their fingers brushing, a static shock, sharp and intimate. For a second, he didn't leave. He lingered, breathing the same air she did. And Azariah, despite every warning inside her, whispered, come back tomorrow. He smiled, but it wasn't carefree anymore. It was hungry, possessed.
Yeah,
He said,
I think I will.
as the door shut behind him. Her heart was loud in her ears. She told herself it was just curiosity. But somewhere in the shadows of the room, the old spell book shifted, as if even the magic knew what was coming. The spell. The night air was thick, heavy like a secret about to break. Rain tapped the shop windows in rhythm with her heartbeat. Azariah sat cross-legged on the floor of her bedroom, candles arranged in a circle, purple wax pulling like bruises on the wooden floor. The scent of burning sage curled around her like a lover's arm. She told herself she wouldn't. She told herself she had learned her lesson with Langston. But Jeremiah lingered in her mind like a song stuck on repeat. The way he looked at her, like he'd known her in another life. The way he spoke her name, soft, reverent, as if he didn't realize he was giving himself away. And underneath it all was his ring, a reminder that his heart was already spoken for. But loneliness doesn't care about boundaries, and desire has its own language. She took a deep breath and held his name on her tongue, Jeremiah. The room answered with a low hum. The candles flickered. She drew a sigil in the air, fingers glowing faintly in the purple light. May the hate find its cure. May his heart know more. Let love root deep where doubt once lay. Let him feel me inside and in strength. The last word slipped out like a sigh, but the energy that rushed through the room wasn't soft. It was electric, sharp, hungry. Across town, Jeremiah sat alone in his parked car outside his house, staring at the lights through the rain. His wife's silhouette moved through the kitchen, ordinary and distant. Then, without warning, something in him shifted. His breath caught. His heart raced. He closed his eyes, and her face came to him. Azariah. The pull was undeniable, magnetic, like every road, every breath, every beat of his heart pointed back to her. Back in her room, Azariah's eyes fluttered open. She felt it. The puzzle clicked. The silence inside her filled with warmth, intoxicating and dangerous. She smiled, but it wasn't innocent. It was the smile of someone who knew the spell had taken root. The bloom and the crack. The next few days unfolded like a fever dream. Jeremiah kept finding excuses to stop by Azariah's shop, first for candles, then teas, then
Just passing through.
but every time it was her. The sound of her voice, the way she smelled like cinnamon smoke and something ancient, the way her eyes caught him and held him like a spell in motion. At first it was innocent. A late night cup of tea after closing, music humming low, the kind that makes you lean in closer without realizing. He told her about his life, the long marriage that had turned quiet, the house that felt more like a museum than a home, and she listened, not like a stranger, but like someone who had been waiting to hear every word. One night, he showed up soaking wet, rain slicking his shirt to his skin.
My wife thinks I'm working late.
He said, a half-smile trembling on his lips. Azariah tilted her head, studying him. And are you? His voice dropped to a whisper.
No, I'm right where I want to be.
She let him in. He crossed the threshold like he'd done it 1,000 times before. The night wrapped around them. The candles burned low, and for a moment it was intoxicating. The laughter, the kisses, the slow way his hand explored her like a map he already knew. He made love to her like a man starved, like she was oxygen. But as dawn crept through the blinds, something shifted. Jeremiah didn't leave. He stayed, sitting up in bed watching her sleep, eyes fixed like he was guarding something sacred, proclaiming it. When she stirred, he reached for her, voice rough.
I don't feel right when I'm not here. With you. It's like I fade when I leave.
Azariah laughed nervously, brushing it off. You're just tired. Go home, Jeremiah. But he didn't move. Over the next few nights, the sweetness thickened into something else. He started showing up, unannounced, standing outside her shop before she opened, watching from across the street. When she closed up, he'd be waiting by her door.
You're pulling away.
He said one night, voice low, and eyes sharp.
Why? I thought you were mine.
She froze. Jeremiah, this isn't...
You're taking your love away.
He hissed.
I can feel it. Don't you dare.
The candles flickered violently. Her stomach twisted. She'd seen this spiral before. Langston. The spell, the obsession. Only this time, Jeremiah had a wife, a life, a storm brewing in the shadows. The reckoning. The storm hit just after midnight, the kind that makes the world hold its breath. Rain hammered against the windows of Azariah's shop, the purple curtains swaying like they knew something she didn't. She was closing up when the bell above the door chimed. Jeremiah. He stood dripping in the doorway. No umbrella, no jacket, no scent. His eyes glowed with something unsteady. Jeremiah, it's late, she said, stepping back. You need to go home.
I am home.
He whispered. He walked toward her slowly, each step echoing through the shop like a heartbeat out of rhythm.
I've been at the house. She's asking questions. She feels it. But I can't be there anymore. You're where I breathe.
Azariah's pulse quickened. Jeremiah, this isn't real love. I can fix this. I can undo it. His expression snapped.
Undo it? You think you can just take this away?
He grabbed her wrist, not hard, but with possessiveness that made her stomach knot.
You don't get to leave me empty.
She pulled free, heart racing. I never wanted to hurt you. Jeremiah laughed, sharp and hollow.
Hurt me. You saved me. You've shown me what real love feels like. I'd rather die with you than live without it.
Thunder cracked. The candles guttered, and behind him, a silhouette appeared in the doorway. A woman, soaked from the storm, eyes blazing. His wife, Jeremiah. She screamed, "What is this? Who is she?" Azariah froze. The air thickened with power and fear. Jeremiah spun around, voice rising.
She's mine now. You had your chance. She makes me feel alive.
The wife took a step forward, voice trembling but fierce. "She is a witch. I know what this is. You're not thinking straight." Azariah felt the spell pulsing beneath her skin like a heartbeat she couldn't control. She'd wanted to heal him, but she created something else. Jeremiah turned back to her, tears mingling with the rain.
Don't let them take this from me. Don't let go. I need you.
And in that moment, as the wife screamed his name and the storm split the sky, Azariah saw it. The same madness that took Langston, the same hunger. Only this time, she wasn't sure if love could save him or if it would destroy them all. The release. The storm raged like it had been waiting for this moment. Jeremiah stood on the edge of Azariah's rooftop, soaked to the bone, lightning cutting the sky behind him like God's warning. His wife screamed his name from below, her voice barely rising over the rain. "Jeremiah!" Azariah shouted, chest heaving. "Get down from there!" He turned slowly, eyes wild and shining.
Why would I go back? That house is dead. She's dead inside. But you,
His voice cracked.
you make me feel.
"Because I made you," she cried. "It's not real. This isn't love. It's a spell." He laughed, broken and beautiful.
Then keep it. Don't undo it. I'd rather die in this than live without it.
Azariah's heart pounded against her ribs. "Jeremiah, please. I didn't mean for it to go this far." The wind stilled. The rain froze mid-air. Time cracked open. A voice she had heard once before, deep, ancient, wrapped in silken thunder, spilled into her chest.
The test of your love returns. Will you prove him and let him live? Even if he forgets you, or hold him and let him fall. Yours love.
Tears slid down her cheeks, mixing with the rain. She stepped toward him, trembling. "Jeremiah," she whispered, "real love shouldn't consume you. It should free you." Her hands shook as she lifted them toward the sky. The candles in her room below flared on their own. The tether between their hearts pulsed once, twice. Part 3. The Severing. The storm growled against the house like some ancient thing waking from sleep. Candlelight flickered against mirrored walls, throwing jagged shapes across the room. Azariah knelt on the floor, her spellbook open before her, the pages trembling beneath the drafts that snuck through the cracks. Her hands shook as she traced the sigil she had once drawn in hunger and hope. "This isn't love anymore," she whispered into the quiet, her voice thin and breaking. "It's a sickness." She inhaled deeply, lifted her hands, and began the incantation to sever the bond between her and Jeremiah. The flames wavered as if resisting her words, like they'd grown too attached to the magic woven between them. Then, suddenly, the lights surged. A violent gust swept through the room, making the candles bow as though some greater force had entered. A voice, deep, otherworldly, filled the air, its tone reverberating against the walls.
If you release him, you must be prepared to loose more than his love.
Her jaw tightened. She didn't stop. She kept chanting, pushing the words through clenched teeth like a woman exercising her own heart. She knew the risk of keeping him. Jeremiah's wife could expose her, ruin her reputation, destroy the business she built with her own hands. Loneliness had driven her too far already. She couldn't let this spiral any further. Her voice rose, the air thickened, the room seemed to tilt, and then she felt it. The tether snapped. The room fell eerily silent. The candles burned low, small flickers in a vast dark. Azariah exhaled, believing it was over. Act 2, The Unraveling. She thought the bond had been severed, thought the love was fading. But one night, as rain traced cold fingers down her window, a sound pulled her from her half sleep. A voice outside, pleading. Jeremiah, his voice cracking through the storm. Just let me see you, just once, and I'll go away. Azariah stepped slowly toward the window, her purple nightgown trailing behind her like smoke curling across the floor. She hesitated before pulling the curtain aside. There he was, Jeremiah, standing in the rain, his hair plastered to his forehead, eyes wide and desperate. The look in them told her everything. He had no intention of leaving. Jeremiah, she breathed, her voice soft, almost tender, as if gentleness could undo obsession. There you are, he snapped, eyes glazed, a feral edge in his tone. He looked intoxicated, but she knew better. It wasn't alcohol. It was the residue of the spell, twisting inside him like a vine refusing to die. The bond may have been broken, but his love hadn't faded. It festered, and in his stare she saw something dark. For a heartbeat, he wasn't the Jeremiah who had made her purple heart glow. He was the man who would rather destroy them both than let go. She forced a yawn, masking the tremor in her chest. It's late, she said lightly. Come to the shop tomorrow, first thing. She closed the window slowly, heart pounding against her ribs. She knew tomorrow wouldn't bring peace, only madness. Act 3, The Confrontation. Rain drenched the night, pulling against the threshold of Azariah's shop. The bell above the door chimed as it swung open. Jeremiah's wife stumbled inside, soaked to the bone, eyes bloodshot and wild. Her hand gripped a knife that glinted beneath the dim candlelight. You should be careful whose husband you enchant, the woman spat, her voice trembling with fury. She just might be as crazy as you. She lunged. Azariah reacted on instinct. Words slipped from her tongue like second nature. A freezing spell. The air crystallized around the woman, locking her mid-stride. The knife hovered inches from Azariah's chest. Her attacker's body rigid, eyes darting wildly in rage but trapped in magical stillness. Behind her, Jeremiah collapsed to the floor, clutching his chest. The spell's unraveling was tearing through his mind and soul like a storm clawing through a house. Then the god's voice boomed again, thunder wrapped in silk.
The bond cannot be broken easily because he loved you before the spell. To break it, you must take 10 years of memories and the love you built.
Azariah's heart lurched. Guilt crashed over her in violent waves. Because of her loneliness, two lives were unraveling, and it was all because she had wanted to feel loved. I'm sorry, she whispered, her voice breaking like thin glass. She knelt beside Jeremiah, cupped his face in her trembling hands, and pressed her forehead to his. Tears slid down her cheeks, mingling with his rain-soaked skin. She began to whisper the memory-severing spell, each word steady though soaked in heartbreak. Light flooded the room, Jeremiah's body limp in her arms. The vow. Later, the shop was quiet except for the hiss of rain outside. Jeremiah lay unconscious on the floor. Azariah released the freezing spell with a breath. Jeremiah's wife collapsed beside him, shaking his body, sobbing into his chest. "What did you do?" she screamed, her voice raw. Azariah didn't answer. Her silence was confession enough. The woman rose slowly, tears carving lines down her cheeks, her eyes burning through the haze of grief. "You ruined everything," she whispered, low and trembling, "and I swear to you, this isn't over." She dragged Jeremiah's limp body out into the rain. Azariah stood alone in the dim shop. The candles flickered weakly, their flames almost gone. She reached up and touched a spot on her forehead where his head had once pressed against hers, where love had once lived. The echo remained, but everything else was gone. Part 4. The rain hadn't stopped since that night. Azariah's shop, once a haven of lavender light and whispered promises, now sat beneath a sky that wept without end. The wood creaked as if it remembered too much. The candles that used to flicker like they were in on the secret now burned low and tired, shadows swallowing the corners. She moved through the aisles like a ghost, her long purple dress trailing behind her. Her magic, once vibrant, felt heavy now, like it was dragging chains. She told herself it was guilt, but guilt was only part of it. Somewhere out there, Jeremiah was alive but blank. His wife's fury echoed in her memory. This isn't over. And she was right. The curse. 3 weeks after the night she erased Jeremiah's memory, something shifted in the air. Her dreams grew darker. Wet soil, grave dirt, mirrors cracking with unseen hands. At first, Azariah dismissed it as the toll of what she'd done. Magic always came with a cost. But then she found the feathers. A single crow's feather placed on her doorstep each morning. Not dropped, placed, arranged with care. On the seventh morning, she found a bundle, feather, bone, and black ribbon, tied like a gift for the dead. She knew then someone had gone to another witch. The curse came slowly. First, her reflection began to waver, like her soul was slipping out of sync. Then, whispers filled the corners of the room, mimicking her voice in tones she didn't recognize. Her magic spells faltered, ingredients spoiled overnight, clients stopped coming in. It was as if her power was being slowly unraveled by invisible fingers. But the worst part wasn't the magic, it was the loneliness. Act 2. The Man Who Wouldn't Fall. His name was Darius. Tall, skin like bronze warmed by dusk, and a smile that didn't need spells to draw her in. He came into the shop looking for something simple. "Sage bundles," he said. But Azariah felt it the moment their eyes met. That stirring, that ache, like the universe was pulling at invisible threads between them. She tried to resist at first. She fought to keep her promise of no more spells, no more hearts bound in shadows. But Darius made her remember what wanting felt like before magic. They started talking, small conversations about music, art, the strange beauty of October skies. He wasn't like Langston or Jeremiah. His presence was grounded, real. For a brief moment, she wondered if this could be the kind of love that didn't need to be conjured. But Darius didn't fall. He smiled, he lingered, but his heart didn't bend toward her. And the more she tried to push the feeling down, the more it burned. Every laugh, every shared glance became a knife twisting in her chest. The curse whispered louder at night. "Now you'll know what it feels like." She lit candles and tried to focus her magic to quiet the ache, but the pull toward him grew until she cracked. One night, under the weight of loneliness and spite, she whispered his name over the flame. The air shifted. The spell went out, not with power, but desperation. Act 3. The Reversal. Unlike the others, Darius didn't succumb. He didn't show up at midnight, didn't look at her with bewitched longing. But something darker happened. The spell turned on her. She woke up thinking about him, aching for him, wandering through the day like she'd been possessed. Her magic, once her weapon, became the cage. She found herself writing his name on parchment, tracing it into steam on the mirror, dreaming about a love that wasn't real. But this time, it was her heart under the blade. She started closing the shop early, skipping appointments. The once thriving space of lavender light and mystery grew quiet, the walls closing in like a slow tide. Act 4. The Collapse. One night, as rain hammered the windows, Azariah lit every candle in her room and tried to undo the curse. She traced every symbol she knew, whispered every reversal she'd ever learned, but the voice returned low and mocking. You took love from those who didn't choose to give it. Now you'll feel what they felt. The room pulsed, her chest constricted. She screamed, not out of fear, but out of heartbreak. All the love she had manipulated, all the strings she had pulled, turned inward and wrapped around her like a serpent. She shut the shop the next day. No note, no announcement, just silence. The lavender candles burned out. The bell above the door rusted in place. And Azariah, once the woman who commanded hearts like wind, disappeared into the quiet, carrying a love that had finally broken her. Real love cannot be taken by force. When you twist it, it twists you back, and eventually, it remembers where you live.